Most days I feel like such a failure, 'cause all I'm thinking about is my success. And then I'm up all night searching for some measure. What makes one better than the rest? And to get lost in such thoughts is sheer madness. But each day you drop a line to pull me through. I'm crazy about you. I'm crazy about you. Crazy about you. Yeah, there's one thing I can tell you, babe, that I know to be true. I'm crazy about you. I'm crazy about you. I'm crazy about you.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And we've arrived.
Man, that's the theme song for the new Hugh Grant movie that's coming out.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.
Very nice, very sweet.
Nice one.
So before we move too far away, I did employ my new devices.
Foffy says, I don't see it at 7:08. It's 7:10. We looking good out there, folks?
Don't see what? It might have been the coin.
It's 7:08, though, which was 2 minutes ago.
Uh-oh.
We looking good out there, folks? Let us know. Let us know in the chat. Checking the chat.
Says we're live on all the things.
Yep, everybody's saying good now.
All right,
Okay, I see it.
Okay, so I did employ my
Am
new...
I back?
You're back.
We're back. We're back.
Woo!
Close call, y'all.
Good
our new
Lord, that was
my
scary
new
as hell.
devices last night, and made us each one of these. There you go.
Now, are you making these yourself? I read on
I got a
your thing.
laser engraver.
Man.
So I make the images in Photoshop.
Well, this is a Jabberjawn one?
Yeah, baby.
Oh,
And the
sweet.
QR code even takes you to our new web page I made, just so the QR code has somewhere to go.
Oh,
Damn,
dude,
Nathan.
Here you go, Lex. Made one
Oh,
for
me
you,
too. Yes.
Gosh.
Love it.
Yeah.
Right answer.
You know, we need to stop these guys.
Damn.
That's what I'm saying.
We got
When they,
a product. We finally got a product.
when they bury me, I want this on my forehead so everybody can walk by and kiss it before I leave.
Good idea. When's that come up?
Oh, it's so hard to
Let's go down
photos.
and kiss Kyle's Jabberjawn before they.
Might be worth a lot of money by then.
God, how did?
It's like fogging up or
it's almost
something.
there. Almost there. Oh, that's amazing.
So how many millions of dollars a laser printer cost you?
Not millions. I'm looking for a quick.
Can you make like dollar bills and stuff now? That's so cool.
The only rub is it takes about 15 to 20 minutes for each one to make. So when we're watching the Olympics or whatever, I got my I got it right on the nightstand next to me and I'm just like always making wooden nickels now. There's always one going, and it smokes up the room. And
Now, where do you buy these little plug things?
and I just bought the wooden discs online. I got like 600 of them, so that should get us
that's so-
started.
That's so cool.
Cool.
I'm going to send out the Nathan Moore songs, Wooden Nickels, to the people that are watching the daily practice to just go out and give people in the real world. So we're returning to the old roots of grassroots, street team, promoting.
We should be in the Christmas parade this year and toss these out to
Throw 'em-
people.
Right. Probably need some Corey for council wooden nickels,
Oh yeah. Follow the Jabberjawn link to the.
too. Oh,
Corey
cool.
Potter.
Lex, in our Discord, you can get a good close-up look at them. You can't really tell, but our names are on there, too. That's why I brought the magnifying glass out for Dad. There you want to see
That's
it.
some rich BTS kind of stuff there too.
What's BTS?
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
That is so cool.
Thanks, Nathan. These are amazing.
Man,
Oh, it's
we
got
can
your
sell.
names.
We can sell these.
It's got your names real small. You see it?
Yeah, I did see it.
All right, so I'll try this. Just my camera and the wooden disc. I point it out there. A little thing comes up. I click on it, and it goes to the Jabberjawn webpage.
Wow.
Man, people.
Which is a cool mix of old school and new school. A wooden nickel with a QR code. I'm very, very proud of it.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I hear you. I get it.
And if you soak this water,
It's way better than putting a website address on there and people
Yeah,
have to
sure.
type all that in. Like
Oh,
a
definitely.
lot of the Luddites should not resist so much sometimes, because a lot of this technology does make things infinitely easier, especially for people that aren't tech savvy. So someone that's more of a Luddite would see a QR code and be like,
Right.
"Oh my God, I just can't." But like, what they don't understand is that the technology is trying to meet them halfway in their resistance and make it as easy as possible for them to enjoy the perks of all the new inventions.
That's a good observation.
the cool thing about this is if you carry one in your pocket and you're in the water, it gets wet and it blows up to you can hold on like a floatable device.
I like the way you're thinking, like the little dinosaurs.
So if you go on a sea cruise, take one of these in your pocket. The ship's going down. Get your Jabberjawn out. Oh, I'll be all right. And
Lex,
my-
this probably would have been a good day to have your iPad screen on the thing. Sorry, I didn't set that up for
This
you.
is so cool.
I got the phone here.
No,
Keep
can I see one of the
closing
other
it.
ones? Can I see one of yours?
The Nathan Moore songs.
No, this image you said that somebody found this. So they designed this
Well,
themselves.
someone just put one up. It was a wooden nickel. It said Nathan Moore songs and had a guy playing guitar or whatever. And I was
Okay.
just inspired by that idea to make a reel. And so I started from scratch. I didn't just turn theirs into a wooden nickel. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, I want to hold that in my actual hand. It was just an image on the Discord server. Hey, Rodney, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
I think I might have missed. But have you had this laser thing?
I just got it a couple days ago.
Can I have this, or I need to give it back to you?
Oh, didn't I give you one?
Well, you did, but then you took it back to show.
Oh,
people.
yeah, go ahead.
That is
please.
so cool.
That's really fun.
It's a whole thing. Well, I guess you're up, Kyle.
Oh my gosh, I was hoping we wouldn't do that. I wanted to hear his stories about the research he did.
Based on last week's
But
conversation.
if you missed last week, go back after this and watch it.
We were talking, we got into it. We started talking about different kinds of alcohol, which led me to my freezer over there where I grabbed an old jar of moonshine that was still good. I guess that stuff lasts forever. Why wouldn't it?
No. Other things die, it doesn't.
Right.
You die, but it doesn't.
It'll just at the end
Yeah.
of the world, it's going to be a cockroach, Keith Richards, and that jar of moonshine.
Yep.
And but that led us. We started talking about all different kinds of things. We started talking about Jägermeister, and then we got on to absinthe, and none of us knew what it really was. So Dad did a little research.
Yeah, but I only did like a half an hour between naps this afternoon, and all I did was, I did very minimum, so I don't know much more than I did, but I did a little bit more.
Okay, well that's
But
a little bit more
anybody
than I
could
know, I'm
learn
sure.
more if they went on Wikipedia and read the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I got bored and fell back to sleep.
I know that's usually how my rabbit holes go. Too. I got the gist.
Right. You're not taking me anywhere else.
Right.
I know how to pronounce the word now. That's all I needed.
Well, no, I didn't get that far. But I thought that was one was interesting. I learned a new word was digestif.
Digestif,
Yeah,
like EEF.
digestif, digestif, as opposed to an aperitif.
Oh,
You've heard of aperitif?
but I don't know what it means.
Yeah. Well, Kyle does.
You do?
Yep.
That's like something that's served before dinner.
Served before dinner.
Yeah. So the
And it digestive.
yeah. So the absinthe was aperitif,
Ah.
or late at night it
Is
was
digestive, I'm just
the digestive.
assuming it's an after dinner.
The absinthe was after you've had dinner and you're getting toward, settling in. You do this and then you're back up.
Ah.
And it wakes you up for another hour or two.
Wait a minute, I thought the Jägermeister was the digestive.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, okay.
I meant to say that.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
an
Jaeger, the first one
absinthe
was the
aperitif
aperitif. Yeah,
before dinner.
yeah, I did it
And then the
backwards.
Jägermeister is the digestive, which is after dinner.
There you go.
And does aperitif,
Listen to him, not to me.
does aperitif and digestive refer to liquors specifically, or could it be a food?
They're different ones. In other words, they're categorized. They're all liquors
Gotcha.
in that sense.
Okay.
But that's when they were being used.
Gotcha.
Primarily, but obviously there are exceptions to that. But I did do some. I had always heard of absinthe. If you've ever read Hemingway or, all back in the 20s and 30s, it became a big deal. I think it's Swiss. Somebody in Switzerland, they invent them. They put these different things. Jägermeister has 53 different herbs in it, and
Wow.
spices and things. To make it, so they experiment. One German, the Jägermeister is German, obviously, and the absinthe was Swiss. But it got to be, it got a recipe and people made it, and then it became like in Paris and during the days when they were at the Romance area, all those Hemingway's time and all those famous artists that were there, all of them were talking about absinthe.
Right.
And
It's in a lot of poems.
and they gave it hallucinogenic properties, and in all those chemicals that are in there is one that might be somewhat hallucinogenic, not a common one. It start with a TOU or something. I'll have to do more exploring with that, but yeah, there is some substance to that. But obviously, it was just a very powerful. Both of these, I think the Jägermeister is 70%, which is 140 proof. So, what you're doing at the end of the night is making sure you get the whole way home. Home not being a place, but a state of mind.
Right.
Now, why
Which would often end up making you literally homeless. But that's another story.
Now, why does absinthe have like a romantic, like sort of sexy connotation, and Jägermeister's like when somebody has to lift your head off the bar to do one more shot of Jaeger, like
Well,
it
it's the
doesn't.
difference between the French poets sipping absinthe with their rituals. You were talking about how they'd pour it over.
There's
where,
a special
where Jaeger, it's after you're drunk and you just say, "Shots, please," and you're throwing them back.
Isn't Jägermeister a relatively new invention?
I think it was invented in like the 20s.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
it
That's
was.
funny. I said,
No,
wait,
maybe even later. I think absinthe was first, and then Jägermeister. It did come later. I don't remember the year. I might have written it down.
It's so funny you said that. 'Cause when he was telling me about it, I said, for some reason, I consider absinthe old, and I consider Jägermeister new, and you have like the same.
100%.
Yeah.
Jaeger is like Coca-Cola brings you, whereas absinthe is like the romantic old poets.
Well, when they, because of the different properties that it has, it's got 56 different things in it. When they declared, the federal government gave up on prohibition, but they kept the ban on absinthe. And I don't know what the status is.
And to this
now.
day, they say you can now buy the stuff called absinthe in the liquor store. There's
Really?
a bottle, it says absinthe, but any diehard will be like, that's not. It's sort of like what they call moonshine. It's
Where
not
do you
really.
get it if you don't get it in the liquor store?
It's like moonshine, I guess. You just got to know a source. You got to know somebody.
You gotta have a source from
the
Germany.
the accoutrement that goes with absinthe that is sort of famous is they have these triangles with holes in it with little arms, and you put it on top of the glass, and put a sugar cube
Yeah.
on top of it, and you pour the absinthe over the sugar cube. Oh, I'm getting drunk just talking about it. I'm about to write a poem.
I've always. But it's like he was talking about, when you read about it, it's always the sugar cube. It has to go over a sugar cube for
Right.
some reason. And Jägermeister is so sweet, you have to like squeeze the sugar out of it before you drink it. You know? I have to pour this through a napkin to get some of the sweetness out of it before I drink it. But Jägermeister is cool now with they sell it in like the little kegs now. Like Baja has like a little keg of Jägermeister. They just tilt it back.
Oh my gosh.
Bring you a shot of Jaeger.
Now, I don't know this. I'd be curious. Do you have any idea how much a shot of Jaeger is these days?
I can set you back almost $1. It's cheap. Well, that's another thing. It's cheap.
Is it really?
I doubt it is that cheap.
No, it's not $1, but it's not going to set you back like a nice shot or something. It's going to.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. I didn't know.
That's why people are so loose with buying around for everybody at the end of the night.
If you get 3 beers, we'll throw in a Jaeger for you. Okay. That's.
Hey Siri. How much is a shot of Jägermeister these days?
She's trying it out.
Between $4 and $8.
But the thing is, I've never been to anybody's house where they actually have Jaeger.
Right.
It's not like something somebody will bring out and go, "You want some?" It's always at a bar.
It's a night on the town.
Nobody's like,
Well,
"Man,
the
I
And
only-
it's served, and it's specially dispensed so it's chilled when it comes
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah, I would never get stuff like that because I had friends. And you're sitting there watching them drink your shit. all the time.
you never had to do that 'cause you always had someone to talk to. You weren't sitting there alone like I am. I guess before I walk home, give me a shot of Jaeger.
Right. Exactly.
It's cold outside. I mean, it's warmed up before I leave.
That's the only reason I ever did one. I've done a few in my day, and it was always cold out.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to warm up.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, you never know who orders Jaeger. It's always like you're sitting with like 5 or 6 people, and all of a sudden you're like, "What is it?" Somebody ordered a round of Jaeger. You're like, you have no idea who ordered it. You're just like, "Oh, okay, I'm not paying for it."
I just had a flashback. I'm so glad they didn't serve Jaeger at Marino's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What if they what
Different vibe there.
What if they had served it at that other place? What's that?
The Ruritan Club.
Ruritan didn't. They were the moonshine group. You could get some moonshine there out in the parking lot, I guarantee you.
Ruritan's raw sipping the absinthe.
Okay, so what about Dice's? Was Dice's a Jaeger spot, you think?
Oh no.
I would think it would have been.
I thought so too. It was too high class for Dice's.
Well, now you see, y'all are different Dices than me.
Different generation.
Dices was a country bar at one time, and then it got popular with young people, and different crowds started going there. But when I first started going over there, it was pure country. And it was country, dancing and everything. It was just all.
So the
And-
Jägermeister thing is more of a hipster move.
Yeah. So the Jaeger came in when the young people were wanting to drink it, but
Right.
back in my day, you just drank beer
Right.
or liquor. But
No,
you
for all of y'all that don't know, Stanton, Dice's was a place like when I was old enough to drink, I was too scared to ever go there. It was out sort of by itself, wasn't it?
Roadhouse.
Yeah, it was out like by itself, and I just knew if I went in there, I would be carried out on a stretcher or something. I knew.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
wouldn't-
it was really dangerous there before they hired Patrick Swayze. And after that era, he really cleaned it up, and it was a nice,
he
safe
really
place
did.
to
But
go
the thing I
dance.
remember, I think I had just moved back to town when it shut down, and all these people were like raving. I guess it was like Marino's. If that was your place, that was your place. There was nothing better. I just felt
Well,
intimidated.
It was one of
Dice's
the-
closed down. I mean, what happened to Patrick Swayze? Rest in
The
peace.
is one of the
I mean,
the last places that you go dance.
Oh, really? My mom was a court reporter, and she had a lot of cases where, like, fights at Dice's or drug deals at Dice's, and it was little bit of a rough
Sort of
house.
aptly named. Oh, you're going to Dice's. Dicey.
Dicey.
Well, yeah.
But they have food out there?
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't
prime rib
it
and
wasn't
stuff.
the reason we went.
Man, I'm starving. Let's find out the dice.
I have an interesting insight to Dice's because I used to work in college. My summer job was at the Frontier Culture Museum.
Oh.
As a landscaping crew. We used to do lunch at Dice's.
Oh, really?
So that's the only Dice's I know. I never went there for dancing
Really?
or
Oh,
for drinking.
wow. So what was it? I never even went in there. What was it like?
It was nice. Rustic.
Drop ceiling,
Yep.
low ceiling, smoky, smell like cigarettes.
Yep.
I don't know. Rustic meant was that a elbow to the ribs or was that a real compliment?
No, I like that.
Okay.
It suits me. It suits me. I don't like new and shiny. I like
Rustic.
wood and rugged.
Guys, so you went from you've been in you've tied into the two hot spots, Marinos and Dice's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, a man of all
Me
seasons.
too.
Local through and through. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever go to Ruritan?
And I'd never heard of that until y'all two talked about it. So before we move on from absinthe, I imagine that if with that many ingredients, that it was a lot about where it came from. There wasn't like a standard maker. It's not like a
Well,
brand of bourbon or something where they.
it was a specialty item made by that one company.
Oh,
or
it
that
was
one,
a company.
Well, it was probably just one man, but he was probably had a brewery, obviously, and yeah, he might have been a company by himself, but I don't know. But yeah, it was a product of one man's experimentation,
wow.
but in both cases, I think.
Wow.
So, and then of course things would vary and change, and he'd doctor it up, and probably did it over a number of years, working on it. But it's a pretty interesting thing.
No. You and me both had the same thing, the sugar cube. And I never even thought about this. So how was it served to you, and how did you drink it? With the whole setup, did they bring it to you like just in a
So like how
serving?
sake comes.
Yeah,
in
then
its
you
own
have,
little-
then you have like a cup underneath the sugar cube.
Did you get that far on the Wikipedia?
No. Now you're talking about pouring it over.
Well, 'cause, I mean, he said he's read, and I've read too. Where the
Yeah,
thing
sure.
is, you have to pour it over like a sugar cube.
yeah, that's
But so they
one,
must
that's
serve it
one
to
way of
you.
doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't. Not everybody did that. That was just one way of doing it.
But I would imagine if you back in the day, if you were at a establishment that served it, they would probably bring you a little vessel of
Parisian
it,
cafe.
and sugar cubes and little things to go over your cups or whatever, and everybody would do it themselves.
Oh, baby.
Oh gosh, I just want to do
I
that.
know, me too. And then I want to
We
draw.
can't get the real thing, though.
And then I want to draw something on the tablecloth and sell it for like $500. I'll sign it. You want to buy it? There you go. You damn kids, get out of here.
Well, I wonder where we can find a connection, maybe out there.
That's on the
How
dark
do you-
web.
How do you find some absinthe?
That's definitely a dark web
Is it?
thing.
I don't do the dark
Yeah, I
web.
don't really
Yeah,
do the
don't.
dark web either.
I've done some stuff off the dark web.
Have
that
you?
didn't work out good. That didn't work out good.
Well, all right,
Tell
tell
us
that
more.
story.
I've just had some weed off the dark web that,
Oh, you did?
that didn't agree with. Yes, I saw somebody's face turn into an egg one time. Their
Oh my goodness.
they were talking to me and their face disappeared. Oh, their face was still there, but there's no features. And I was just like, oh.
Oh my goodness, what did you get?
I didn't buy it. Somebody brought it. Somebody had it, but it was. I was like, all right, don't be bringing this crap around anymore.
Did you see them order it?
No.
So you didn't actually go on the dark web yourself?
No, I'd be too scared. I wouldn't know. First of all, I wouldn't know how.
That was what I was
do-
going to ask, because I don't even know how, and I'm pretty tech savvy, but I've just never gone there. I don't even know what. Do you know, Lex?
Tor browser. It's like a separate
It's a certain browser.
certain browser software that you use to get to it,
Ah,
and it's all encrypted, and your like your
Do you have to have a
Identity is
certain
anonymous.
code to get in, or you can't just
Right.
go to it, can
I
you?
don't know more than that, really. Or if I start saying
Well, if
more
any
than
of you
that,
out there in the video world,
Did you
on
buy
the
your ID
do
off
the
of
dark
it?
web, give us a call.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anybody out there that does that kind of stuff, if you want to send us a bottle of absinthe, God, would you trust that? I just don't know if I would trust it. We have to go to Europe, is what we got to do. Jawn road trip to Europe. Just a absinthe. You know how people will go and try every kind of pizza in New
Right.
York or whatever, and that's their whole field trip. We'll do a John field trip to Europe on an absinthe tour.
Well,
Oh, man.
the fascinating thing is that he says that there's none of them say definitely hallucinogenic. I forget the word you were using, like possible hallucinogenic or something.
I don't remember what I
probably
was saying.
depends on the herb and stuff. Like he said, whatever blend might be in there, somebody could be throwing something that has those kind of properties in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
could be fun.
when you put that many chemicals, you're obviously dealing with something more than just ethanol,
Right.
or it wouldn't have the reputation it has. So
Mhm.
after that, you're getting down to biochemistry to try to figure out what's doing what.
How do you spell it? ABSY?
I spell
think
it
it's
with an
I.
I-N-T-H-E.
ABSI, yeah.
ABSINTHE.
Yeah.
Steve Conroy says that Van Gogh's madness was attributed to excessive absinthe.
That's why we're so intrigued. That's why he's painting tablecloths here and trying to sell them for $1 million.
That's the reason I only
after
have
one glass.
That's the reason I only have one ear.
And Steve, I haven't forgot about you on the shopping spree, so I got you. It's coming soon.
There's got to be somebody that sells.
I'm asking Percy here. What is absinthe, and is it hallucinogenic?
Now, would you be brave enough to drink one like at 7 o'clock when the show started and see what you're doing at 8:30?
If
This is the closing song.
why do you think it's aggressive?
Just knowing you personally, how aggressive you are. Nathan, you're hurting me. Stop.
Absinthe is a potent alcoholic beverage known for its distinctive green color. I didn't
I didn't know
imagine that. I did not imagine that. And strong anise flavored taste. Oh, I'm not a huge fan of that. It's like licorice.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Well,
huge
that's
fan of that.
Jägermeister.
It is, yeah, it's very Jaegery. It is traditionally made from botanicals, including the flowers and leaves of grand wormwood,
Okay.
along with anise, fennel. There's another of those flavors, and other herbs. Absinthe gained its particular notoriety in the 19th and early 20th centuries, partly because it was believed to be hallucinogenic. Now, the power of that belief can really lead to some interesting
that's the word.
mindsets.
He was basically saying the same thing. Like if you believed that it worked, if you
Right.
didn't, it was just like,
It's a faith drink. This belief primarily stemmed from the presence of thujone. Am I saying that right? Thujone.
I'd never heard that word till today.
A chemical compound found in wormwood. Thujone was thought to cause psychedelic effects and mental disturbances, contributing to absinthe's reputation as a dangerous and addictive drink. However, contemporary scientific research has debunked much of this myth. While thujone can be toxic in large amounts, the levels found in absinthe are typically too low to cause hallucinations. The hallucinogenic effects often attributed to absinthe are more likely due to its high alcohol content and the cultural myths that surrounded its use, rather than any psychoactive properties of thujone. That is fascinating.
That is fascinating.
well, it's also cool. It's like he
if you
said.
think it's going to get you high,
It's the
it's going
power
to
of
get you high.
suggestion. Yeah.
But it's also like he said, absinthe. You relate it to like smart, like artists or writers or something. You don't consider it's like just a bunch of stumble bombs are gonna go get a bottle of it. It's like a bunch of smart guys sitting around a Parisian cafe, you know.
Want to expand their consciousness.
Yeah, well,
And-
I'll give you a good classic example of that. Think of Hemingway in Cuba drinking rum after fishing all day, and think of him sitting in a cafe with Van Gogh and 4 other artists drinking absinthe late at night.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cultural little
Yeah.
difference there,
Right.
and you're going to experience reality differently.
Right. 100%.
No, are you a Hemingway
Placebo.
fan?
I have been through phases of Hemingway, and then other times, you know, I went back about 3 or 4 years ago and reread Old Man and the Sea, and because I remember reading it a long time ago, but I didn't really think that much of it, and you know, I didn't think too hard on it. So I wanted to see how he pulled that off, because it's a very simple story, and I don't know. I'm still a little questioning about it.
Well,
I mean, I'm not coming out and saying it was amazing this time.
Right.
It was better.
I had never read anything of his. I just always thought it was gonna be like brutish, you know, just macho type stuff. But I read this story where they went up in the mountains and saw some bullfights and stuff. It was like totally beautiful. It was like
Yeah.
so well written.
Just some of it, he wrote one I read in my high school English book, had an anthology, and one of them was a short story he did on Big Two-Hearted River. And all it was a fishing story. And of course, I was a kid in high school who loved to fish, and that was the first poem I'd ever read about trout fishing, and well, short story. But it was just amazing. So at that point, I was a great Hemingway fan, and a lot of his outdoor stuff. So he had different phases. He had his, Cuba phase, and his Western Montana phase, and his early European. He was an interesting character.
Where was he when he killed himself? Florida?
Yeah, I'm not sure. My first reaction is out west somewhere, and his home out west. He had a ranch, but I'm not sure.
I think it is in Florida. That's because all of his cats are still there.
His cats?
Like the cats that he had when he was alive, I've just kept breeding, and they're
Oh, the
still
descendants of Hemingway's
living there at
cats.
the
Oh,
house.
that's
yeah.
cute. Hey Siri. Where did Hemingway kill himself?
In the head.
Oh gosh. It sounds like talking with someone might help. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline offers free and confidential emotional support. Would you like me to call them for you?
Oh, that's so sweet.
Hey Siri, absinthe. Hey Siri, Jägermeister. Hey Siri, where do I kill myself?
What's the best way to go?
Is it easier to die from an overdose of absinthe or Jägermeister? I am the old man. I'm facing the sea.
Oh my
I
goodness.
think it was in Florida because you can still go visit all the cats and stuff.
Oh, Ketchum, Idaho.
Oh wow.
I used to play the amusement used to play a festival in Ketchum, Idaho. I should have remembered that little
Ketchum,
tidbit from
Idaho.
that. Yeah,
That's where we broke down on our road trip.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ketchum?
Yep.
Wow.
Really?
Isn't that the guy who did Dennis the Menace, Bill Ketchum?
No idea.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
I think, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Might even spelled it the same.
God, so Hemingway read the first Dennis the Menace and decided that was the end of the world. I'd have to get out of here.
Oh. Well, I don't know how serious we want to get, but I had another area to go to
Let's
All
go.
right.
after I was doing my research on alcohol. I started. I don't know that I can explain this, but I'm going to try. I've studied alcohol, and I have conditions that are due to alcohol, so I know alcohol very well. I wouldn't say I was a heavy drinker. I was just a heavy person who drank a lot. So you got to see how it is. But I obviously had the capacity to hold a lot of alcohol, which I never asked my liver or my kidneys if that was okay, and they finally just decided that it wasn't okay, and they let me know. But at any rate, I try not to get off on that because I quit drinking 8 years ago or whenever it was, when they told me it was killing me. And I just made a decision that I wanted to live a little bit longer, and it wasn't you know, I had tried to quit 1,000 times. You know, you can read in my journals where I need to not do this every weekend, and I'm going to change. And then 2 weeks later, I'm back doing it like I always did. You know, but I tried to quit. I knew I had a problem, but I couldn't do it until I had to. That's not what I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry. That was called the intro.
That was the aperitif.
That was exactly. Yeah. Now is that the hallucinogen?
I hope so.
I don't think so. Not yet.
I was waiting to see.
All right. I got this from a book I just finished in the public library. It was that thick, but it was large print. But it was a big book, and Malcolm Gladwell writes, you know, true stuff. He's an objective writer. I don't know if he's. I know you ever read any. He's got some that were famous. He wrote one a couple years ago that I have read him before, and I like the way he writes. So he took on different topics in this book, and one of them was about alcohol. What he was talking about was what we really see and what really is going on in the background is not usually or often is not true or related. It doesn't cover so many things. And one of the things he was talking about was he gives examples, and one of them was somebody that got a girl got molested by a boy, but they were both really drunk. So he's talking about getting drunk, and what he said, what I learned, you know, that was new to me was, and this is where I'm trying to go with this, was that the way the chemical ethanol works on the brain, whether it be a Pabst Blue Ribbon or whatever they drink in Ketchum, Idaho, but the thing that happens in your brain, I always kind of interpret it, ethanol is a very simple chemical, and I just think it just turns off nerve cells. It just breaks them down, and they have to it kind of hurts, knocks them out for a while. So you end up taking different paths, and you shut down certain common roadways. One of the more common ones is where the front part of your brain where you're making logical decisions. So that's the way I always thought. You know, you just start making dumber and dumber mistakes, and then eventually it gets to the physical, and you stumble, and you know that's just the more you drink. Well, he's saying his is a little different take on it that I had to look at. Is that he looked at it in terms of the pathway going to your long-term memory. So, you know, in other words, what are we going to remember about tonight? Only something that's different or unusual. We talked about that at the ball game. You notice things if they're out of the ordinary, and so. But what alcohol? What he's saying is that what you choose to remember gets blunted the more alcohol you take as you get drunker during the night. It shuts down the ability for you to form long-term memories. So you're thinking only in the short term, and you don't consider long-term consequences. And that's where you see a lot of the behavior that comes right off the top of the head without that background information of saying, wait a minute, if you do that, you're going to end up in jail. That guy's gone. And the logical extent to that is blackouts. I've had blackouts, you know, and I get up the next day, and the old joke I always used was, I knew I had to call people up and apologize, but I couldn't remember who.
Right.
And that's classic blackout time. And if you drink a lot, you know what I'm talking about. But that's a classic example of what I was just saying, is you shut down that long-term memory. You don't know what you did at that point, you know. You don't, because you didn't form any memories there. You literally don't have anything to remember, because you didn't make the message didn't get sent because they were drunk. They were all partying.
Right.
No,
So-
but it's in there somewhere. Cause I know I've been drunk. Somebody will say, "What did you do last night?" I'm like, I don't know. Then they'll say, you don't remember doing this. I was like, oh, once they mention it to you.
Well, you know, some of that's like that, and some of it's not. But a real blackout, you don't remember anything.
Right.
But partial blackouts are just what I'm saying. You partially remember. Some things make it through, but nothing like if you hadn't had any alcohol.
Right.
Because that's what the alcohol is doing. And if you think about it, that's why people drink alcohol. They want to release.
Sever that.
They want to break. They don't want to have to worry about the future
it's like
all the time.
The classic country song is "Drinking to Forget a Love That Went Wrong" or something.
Yeah,
like
all the drinking songs are about that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Most country songs are a lot of them are that very thing I'm talking about. If you look at it on a different level, you drink to forget,
Right.
or you drink not to have to remember.
Mm.
But then,
Wow.
what we need to recognize as a society is when you do that, you're still responsible, and we need to be aware that that's happening, and that's why I think this is important to talk about.
That's huge.
Because, you know, when the story that Malcolm Gladwell tells, it was a drunk young man who's 18 with a woman who's slurring drunk at a party, and they don't know each other, and they met, and he's taking her home, and they fall down in the bushes, and he says but neither one of them really remember what happened. Neither one of them really should be testifying, because, I mean, like you say, they might remember part of it, and that's
Right.
what they do. But if you have a total blackout, you don't remember any of it. All kinds of things could have happened. And, you know, that's, I guess it's just the idea of taking responsibility for it and understanding what we're talking about. Because because one reason I'm talking this way is because when I had read that in the book, and then I started reading about Jägermeister, every situation I ever think about with Jägermeister comes at the end of the evening when you want to really get drunk. And that's the best way I can say it, when you just want to make sure that you got your money's worth of alcohol for the night.
I'm not leaving here till I know I'm drunk.
Exactly. So, but I thought that was worth talking about.
That is
Now,
worth talking about.
I mean, that makes totally sense, but is he basing this on his own views, or does he have some kind of...
He's basing it on the chemistry of how the brain works, the
Oh, okay.
neurochemistry.
Oh, so-
He's being very scientific
Okay.
about it. He's saying this is what happens, you know, by studying people at different, you know, they take an electroencephalogram and take a picture of your brain while you're in different phases, and they can see what it's shut down up there. It's just not responding.
I'm fairly certain that just being aware of that concept could help you avoid things. But there's a part of me that wonders that if the alcohol is effective at destroying your connection to long-term memories, if any wisdom going into that can help you navigate it.
Probably not.
That's the rub.
That is the rub, and that's why it keeps working the way it does. And a lot of times nothing, you know, results, but, you know, we're talking a lot about DUIs and killing people on the roads and drunk driving, and all those things are part of what we're talking about, because you're shutting down that ability to say, I shouldn't be driving. I've had too much, just on the simple level that I might get a ticket. Not that I'm drunk, but
Domestic violence.
what's that?
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
Domestic
yeah.
violence all the time.
Yeah.
98%. If you read the article, there's going to be alcohol involved.
Right.
Every damn time. Don't we get it? It's and here's my last thing I gotta say is that I've watched television a lot with the ball games, and they advertise two things that are addictive:
Betting.
gambling and alcohol.
Yeah.
Every commercial, except for occasional Big Mac.
Right. Which is
which is far
also
worse.
Which is it's definitely like the hard shit,
somehow- right.
because that's the only one that'll get me
And
up.
a lot of ads for insurance.
That's the only.
It's
sprinkled
Oh,
in there.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need to be insured.
It kind of follows. It follows that pattern though of a night out of drinking that ends in Jägermeister, because the real topper is that Big Mac on the way home from the late night.
Yeah. Get that Taco Bell
That,
before you
that,
go to
that
bed.
grease
Taco
and
Bell.
mystery meat and all of it. Yep, that's the true
Part of the-
unhealthy
well, yeah.
topper.
Something you'll never remember, but never forget.
But just think how. Just think if we had lived 100 years ago. Well, I don't even know when the car was invented. Say we were in the early 1800s. Those dudes could just get drunk as whatever. They weren't going to hurt anybody getting home. You never heard about head-to-head horse collisions or nothing, you know. I mean,
Definitely drunk driving wasn't an issue.
Yeah,
but
so-
they would probably shoot a couple of people on their way home.
I wonder if like liquor and beer and stuff, alcohol was invented after cars were, if it would be different. Because they didn't have that fear back then.
People have been drinking for centuries and centuries. This is not a new thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but the death toll is a new thing, though.
Yeah, well,
Like a drunk guy can,
Yeah, but
run
still,
over.
in the context of the conversation, DUI is just another example of a bad decision.
Right, right.
And the bad decisions have been made for centuries.
Right.
And many of them were probably fatal because I'm sure they are like, all the horse can make it over this jump. They were jumping stuff they had no business jumping. Like,
Jump the river, old stallion! Ah!
guaranteed.
I
Now,
lost an uncle to a drunk driver.
Oh wow.
Yep, sure did.
I used to do a rant in my shows back when I was touring, and it was one of those ones that I liked just because it was problematic. Like, the stand-up comedian in you, sometimes you want to be edgy and say something that's controversial, but it was about how I know that everybody frowns on drunk driving, but where I'm from, there are drunks on the road that are the safest drivers out there. And that was my whole idea, because I was like, if you got a true drunk, they have a map of your town that you wouldn't even recognize. They know every back road and where it connects to what. They're all going 25 miles an hour. There's different versions of drunk drivers. You got the young person that's just drunk and revved up and going too fast or whatever. But then you got the old school alcoholic that is going this crazy back road way, driving 25 miles an hour, eyes on the prize. So that was
sounds like something you might have grown up with.
that was the gist. That was the gist of my rant. That there are drunk drivers out there that are the safest people on the road.
I took a turn. We were coming off of Augusta Street and heading towards our neighborhood, and I took a turn to go over the hill that I normally wouldn't take. And Corey, I think, was with me and was like, "Why are we turning here?" I was like, "Oh, this is the Marinos route."
Right.
And I learned that from you. First night in Marinos, you were like, "All right, so go up here and make a right, and then you can make a left, and then we're in the neighborhood and we're home free."
wow.
Then. And I was like, "Good point. So the route, the safe route, the Marinos route."
That's the opening lines of my song, that freedom feeling is each time I hit that stretch of road, I know I've made it home, even though there's still a ways to go. I can get there with my eyes closed. There's always that point where back when I used to drink and drive, where like there was a certain point where you knew you were home free.
Right.
As soon as I turn off this one road on, it's just back neighborhood roads all the way there from here on out.
I realized something last
I wouldn't do that rant today, by the way. Not because I don't think it's a good one. I just don't even know.
I was walking home last night very high from a friend's house, and I realized that if I was drunk, I'd have already been home. I was like, the time difference. I kept thinking, am I ever going to get to that next car? I was just walking and walking. I kept thinking, if I was drunk, I'd already be home in bed. Like, this walk would have never even happened. I'd have just woken up in bed like, oh, hey, I made it home.
You just wouldn't have remembered how
Yeah,
long it
but
took.
I would have been home. But I was high. I was like, good God, I'm just walking like
I'm
20
gonna remember
minutes.
all of this.
It's taking me 20 minutes to get to the next car. Oh. And I was thinking, man, just the time difference. And like when I never drive when I go downtown to see shows and stuff now, but when I walk home when I'm drunk, I have no fear in the world. I'm just like, I'll get home. When I'm high, I get every snap and everything. I'm looking around like, what? Somebody's following me. I know they're following me. It's like scared to death. I'm always breaking to a run. I gotta get home. Oh. It's just the different feelings that you get. It's so weird. I mean, I was walking. I was like, man, I've been walking for like 25 minutes. There's only like 10 minutes to get home, and I'm still walking, and that parked car is not getting any closer. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm gonna have to call an Uber to get home the last 5 minutes because I'll never get there.
You ever been arrested for drunk in public?
Oh, I had one time. Yeah.
You did?
In high school, yeah.
In high school? Whoa, that's... What is the charge for being drunk when you're under 21? Is there a charge?
Me and a friend drank a whole bottle of grain alcohol.
Oh, God.
And he left. He tried calling Wendy Gray, and she wouldn't come meet us. And so he went, I don't know where he went, but I went to 7-Eleven down on Spring Hill Road and went in and was knocking over display racks and stuff. So they called the police on me. But my friends got me out of there. So a couple of days
Were
later.
you knocking them down by accident?
Yeah,
or-
I just didn't. I wasn't trying to. I was just
Right.
stumbling and stuff.
Stumbling.
So, yeah, so my friends got me out of there. So a couple of days later, the police came. I think I've told this story. The
Wow.
police came and put me in handcuffs in my parents' house. And
At your parents' house?
yeah, that's when I was like 16 or whatever, living there.
Oh, my God. They put you in
Wait,
handcuffs?
So you were already at your parents' house
Well, the
when
thing-
the cops showed up?
Well,
That's some scared
no, it was
straight
days
kind
later.
of
So
thing.
we drank this bottle of grain alcohol. So the next morning, my parents had to take me to the hospital because the grain had like killed like everything and all the germ fighting cells in my body. So I was on an IV for like 3 days
Oh, my
in the
goodness.
hospital. So then when I got home and my friends came over, the police showed up and said, we finally tracked you down from what the 7-Eleven people have said.
And this was before security cameras.
Yeah, this
right?
was, and I was so mad.
That's just small town.
Well, and the guy that worked at 7-Eleven was like one of he was like not like a mentor, but he was like a really smart guy. He introduced me to a lot of writers I really like in music and stuff. So I was like
But he
pissed.
called the cops on you?
Yeah, and at first I was mad at him for a long time. Then I realized, what's he supposed to do? Well, I'm in there making a jackass of myself, knocking shit down and stuff. What is he supposed to do? But I had some friends come and get me out of there and take me home. So then I went to the hospital the next day for 3 days. Then I came home and the police came.
So all right, so the police come.
I was downstairs with some friends. My mom comes to the basement steps and said, you have some friends here. And I went upstairs and there's 2 cops there.
Oh, God.
And I was like, whoa. And they're like, you drunk in public or whatever, drunk and disorderly or whatever. And they wanted me to tell them who had gotten me the alcohol and stuff. And I wouldn't tell them. And, I was like, oh, I can't remember his last name. That's my best friend ever. I can't remember his last name. Where does he live? I've never been to his house. Just like dumb.
Was it a best friend that was 21?
No. He was He was younger than me even.
Had a fake ID or
Yeah, I think he had an
something?
older sister, yeah.
Mm.
So they put me in the handcuffs, and I was like, oh, crap, man. I better start squealing like a pig to get out of this situation. But I just sat there, and then they said, if we ever catch you again. So I probably sat there for like maybe 10 minutes with the handcuffs on.
Oh, they put handcuffs on you in your house?
Yeah, I think just to scare me,
Mm-hmm.
which it really did work. I mean, I was scared to death.
Really had to drink after that.
I was like, good God, if I get these hands loose. Oh.
Handcuffed behind you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And my mom was just like, white as a sheet sitting there.
Was it just your mom there?
Yeah, and all my friends down in the basement. So when the cops left, I had to go downstairs. It's like, you wouldn't believe just what happened upstairs. But my parents couldn't wake me up the next morning, so they took me to the emergency room and they put me in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And that was a dumb move.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
I always.
Did they? This is none of my business, but I'm curious. Did they know why you had to go to the hospital?
Oh, when I came home, I was very drunk. Yeah.
They
And then
they
my mom,
knew.
my mom recorded this conversation. Oh, this was the worst. You know, like when people tell you like you're drunk, somebody tells you a story, you're like, oh my God, I wish I was dead right now. My mom recorded one of my friends, a girlfriend, well not a girlfriend, a friend of mine who was a girl had called me, had seen me at 7-Eleven and called me, and we were talking all this damn sex talk on the phone. And my mom's on the other line recording it all.
Recording it all?
'Cause I was like,
no.
man, I'm drunk as shit. I'm coming over there just running my mouth like a damn idiot. So my mom goes, you want to know what you sound like when you're drunk? And play that. And I was
Oh
like,
my
oh,
Now
Christ.
again, this is the before security cameras, also
Right.
before phones or any easy way to record a phone call. She had to have
she
like
went
a
and
cassette
grabbed the
tape or
tape deck.
Well,
Right, this is
well,
like an old tape
yeah,
deck. This is like a
Because my mom was a court reporter, so she had
she was a court
she
reporter.
had tons of microphones and recorders. So she had just picked up the other phone. And I remember sitting in the kitchen. I got home and I was just drunk sitting in the kitchen. And my mom said, you have a phone call. And I remember who it was. And I don't remember what I said to her, but my mom was like, look, what a jackass.
This is all
you are."
pointing out my subject. That
Absolutely.
explains it
Exhibit A.
perfectly. Everything was perfect.
But I listened to like maybe 30 seconds of that tape. And I just took it out of the tape recorder and ripped it to shreds.
Oh, so we can't play it today.
Oh, man, I was so embarrassed. Like just some stupid 16-year-old talking like he was king of the world, you know, just...
Man.
I think it'd be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
My mom probably has a copy of it somewhere.
Right.
You ever get too big for your britches? I still got this
Does she
tape.
have any others? Does she have a little shoebox full of old recordings of you?
But the funny, I mean, none of that is funny. Looking back on it now, it's funny, but it's not funny then. But the funny thing is, when they put me to bed, when we had it upstairs, my brother's room, and he went through his room to my room. And I was so drunk, they just put me in my brother's bed. So when they went to wake me up, they said I just sat up and just vomited everywhere. So they got me out of the bed. My mom just threw the blankets over it. So my brother the next night went to bed and he climbed in all my vomit. And he
Oh, my
he
goodness.
still gets mad at me about that. It's like, God damn it, they didn't even put you in your own bed. I had to climb into your vomit the next night.
Man, that's rough stuff.
But listen, kids, it's not worth it. Stay on the straight and narrow.
Wow.
Do good in school, and remember, if you're gonna slash some tires, only slash 3 because insurance covers it if you do all 4.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't even get that. Do you have insight on why
I
that
don't
is?
have any of that. I guess it's a total loss then.
And why was it a chemistry teacher? That's what bothered me. I didn't. I could have done that if I'd have known it, but I didn't even know that. It actually sounded a little hostile. Like a chemistry teacher, I don't think was very happy with somebody.
You know, I've always had a issue with the drunken public law. That's definitely. I don't know if it's just uniquely enforced in Stanton, or if it's a unique to our charter, or if that's illegal in every town. I'm not really sure about that, but I have a problem with that as a law. It seems to me like anything that you would do beyond that is already illegal, whether it's disturbing the peace or destruction of public property or assaulting somebody. Any of those things are already illegal and should be. But public intoxication is different. That's a specific. You can't be in public in a state of inebriation, which I feel like is an unjust law. And it also incentivizes bad behavior, because a lot of times people are drunk in public because they left their car at the bar and they're doing the right thing and walking home. and not hurting anybody. And that innocent person just being in a state of inebriation, doing the right thing, not driving their car and walking home, will be picked up by the police and arrested for that. And I feel like it's an unjust law.
You know, I had an experience that recapitulates that very thing. I was walking home, I was up from downtown, and that's exactly what I was doing. I decided to walk home because I had been drinking too much, and I just left my car there at the bank, and I was just going to walk on home. It was a beautiful night, and sure enough, a police car pulled over, and he confronted me. He didn't even get out of the car. He just pulled up beside me. I was walking. I'd probably stagger. You know, I was drunk. But he said, "You've been drinking?" I said, "Yes, sir." And I said, and he said, "Do you have far to go?" And I said, "No, I'm just past the park. I can make it all right." And he said, "You think you had too much to drink?" And I said, "Well, you know, I'm not bothering anybody, and I'm going to be able to make it home." And basically was telling him the same thing. I haven't broken any laws. And he was agreeable.
That's
and,
good.
And he was saying, well, be careful and don't get into any trouble when he drove off. So, some of that's just a human way you can treat something too.
Right.
That happens all the time. And that was part in this book too, how some of these interpretations of the way a policeman handles a situation, he's basing it on things he's learned that cue into problems when he approaches the vehicle. So he might not be looking for trouble, but when he sees you do something like bending over the console, this person that was inside bent over real quick. Well, she was putting out her cigarette or something, but he doesn't know that. He thinks she might be having a weapon down there. Right. So he's into a different frame of reference, and he's going to come to her differently. And if that guy had, if he had just, if he hadn't gotten laid in a week, that policeman, he might have been in a bad mood and just looking for trouble. There are policemen out there that just look for trouble, and they're bad policemen. That's all you can say. But then there are good policemen too.
Right. And I imagine a good policeman could maybe defend that law on the books just by saying, like, it gives me the wiggle room that if I can't prove if there's a menacing presence, or like if someone's drunk in public and they're menacing but not in a way that's chargeable, it gives them the leeway to put that person,
exactly.
Let them dry out or whatever.
Right.
I guess you have to read it. Like if you're like when you and me, like I've done that a lot. You're walking home, you're heading in the right direction. If I was falling down and, walking out in the street and tripping, I would hope somebody would pick me up. I wouldn't, a cop can't have you doing that. But if you're just walking down the street in a little zigzag, not hurting anybody,
Well,
a lot of
and
people
you can carry a conversation,
Right.
like that's probably what he was trying to assess.
Well, that's exactly right. If I'd said something slurry or the wrong thing, he would have pursued it a different way. That's a sign of a good policeman.
And there are too many stories that I've heard of people getting picked up that it was inappropriate. And just under that statute it gave them.
Yeah, the people are using it for other things.
Well, and I've heard of people walking in Stanton not showing signs that they were drunk, but they had been drinking, but they were walking fine, but almost as if they were seen leaving
A bar.
and then approached a block later and was taken in because they were breathalyzed and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's excessive. I mean,
Yeah, I think it
seems
got
like
a
just
little
give somebody
excessive for a
ride
while. I
home
hope
or
they've
something.
dialed that back a little bit, because
Yeah.
a lot of that can just be.
That was when I first moved here. I remember hearing this story.
Yeah, there was a
There
couple
were
of years
several
there.
incidents there. I actually went and spoke to the chief of police about this very thing.
Oh wow!
Cool.
I just,
Maybe you helped
You might have.
I hope so.
Probably did.
change.
I mean, it was a good conversation. He was very amenable to what I was saying. And the basic premise was what you've already said, is that a lot of these situations they're trying to avoid breaking the law by driving, and they should be rewarded for that. You ought to give them a ride home.
Right.
You shouldn't be the other way around. So
What
I think
inspired that conversation?
we remember there was that one summer there were about somebody I knew, and then probably when I got stopped, but you could just see people complaining about it, just like you're talking about, where it goes around the community. You got to be careful walking around downtown Stanton because the cops will stop you.
Right.
How did you set it up? You just walked down to the police station and said you wanted to talk to somebody, or did you
I walked
make an
into the
appointment?
police station to pay my bill, same place, and set up an appointment. And he met with me at 2:00, and he and I just sat down and I told him what I was talking about and who I was, and I played ball, Lehigh. Goddamn.
Yeah. You don't know me. You better find out and ask somebody.
You don't know who I am?
You want to fuck around and find out who I am?
You don't know. You don't.
I remember it got so bad there for a little while. I was talking about organizing a protest, a march, and we were going to meet at
When was all
I think
this?
at Rennie's house, and it was going to be like as many people as we can get, and half of us were going to drink, half of us weren't. Some were just going to put it on their clothes so you just smelled of it.
Love it.
And my sign was going to say, "I'm drunk and I'm proud."
No, I don't.
And we were
You
going to
would not
march.
drink.
We were going to march through town.
Were you going to be one of the people that didn't drink?
I don't know. I
'Cause that's
can't
great,
remember.
right?
No, I've only been back here
As
since.
an organizer, probably be.
I've only been back here since 2009, and I haven't experienced any of this.
Well, that's good.
I think they did change policy over that period of time.
It had gotten a little ridiculous.
And,
They
the
were
other thing,
really-
the other thing, I might be wrong because I don't drive anymore, but I don't think that back in the day there was a thing where they had radar speed traps. I don't see that as much.
Right, it
Do
used
you
to be
agree
all the
with
time.
that? I mean, like Grubert Avenue, a little Grubert, but it has those rolling hills, and it's 25 all the way through there. So if a cop gets down in the dip,
Yep.
and you cross the hill, you're going to go 35. And he's got, and we and all of us citizens of the city thought they were just doing it to make their quota, which makes it so impersonal. And my mother got a ticket. Good Lord.
Right.
I mean, that guy should go to hell. Give my mother a speeding ticket. But it was like 33 on Grubert Avenue.
Nana just started wearing leather after that for a little
No.
while.
Rebel era.
That was her reaction.
I don't remember this story.
Hardened.
I don't remember if this story says anything bad about you or not. But what's the story about when your dad came over and you said you wanted to hear the song? What was it? What's that story?
Oh, well, the one story was when I had my car wreck.
Yeah, that was a story. Has he told this story
I
before?
don't know if I know this.
Yeah.
This
That
is
was-
a funny story.
I was having my little green Volkswagen, and I'm right past the park, right where the entrance to the back end of the entrance is, or the Tasty Freeze is, or was. And I'm driving, I see my parents coming out because they'd gone through the park, and I waved at them. We were both going home for Sunday dinner, and I was driving along listening to WHBG out of Harrisonburg, and the guy in front of me stopped to go in the Tasty Freeze, but he stopped pretty short, and I'd looked at Mom, looked back, and I was close to him. So I jerked the wheel, put on the brakes, and skidded, and I had just stopped, and I was thinking, whoo, that was close, and the guy behind me nailed me.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I just shot up that little hill that was on the right across there from Tasty Freeze. There's still no
So he
houses
hit you
there.
good.
They just pop. It would have been bad if they hit me into the other car. Then I would have been crushed by the two. But this just sent me up the hill. So I just rolled up the hill and rolled back down. And they stopped at the bottom. And Mom and Dad came running across there, and and I was laying with the seat broke, and I was laying flat. And my dad said, "Are you going to be all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be out in a second. I got to hear the end of this song." So I was listening to one of those nice little popular music songs. I kept not sure which one it was. It was He's So Fine, I think might have been.
Oh, great song.
Yeah. Something like that, but you just can't quit in the middle of it. And Kyle thought,
Just let me be for a little bit. Come on.
yeah,
I really
my-
want to know
my
you.
father was a little upset with me for taking it nonchalantly. They were both happy.
He's
I
probably a
was.
little impressed.
They
too.
were very happy they didn't have to go to the hospital. So, yeah,
Wow.
that did happen.
So when was that?
I was in high school, so I was my junior year,
Oh, wow.
64, 65.
That's so weird for your parents to see you in a car wreck, though.
Yeah, it was all, and for them to come through the park, they never did that. I don't know why. They just was such a pretty day. It was a spring day, and they wanted to go through the park.
Good
Let me
story.
hear the end of this song.
Yeah, I'd never been in a wreck before. I didn't know how to handle it. It was my first one. I'll do better next time.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of wrecks. You been in any wrecks?
I have been in a couple of wrecks. Yeah.
I got arrested for public intoxication in Austin, Texas.
Man.
It's probably hard to do.
I'll never forget. I was standing outside of Emo's Lounge
Ah.
and Legendary.
Legendary.
Bar. Oh, you've heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of famous shows there. It's a great pool hall and venue. And I was standing there, and I'd been drinking, and I was out there, and I guess there's people like in a line to get in or something, but a police car was driving by, and this guy I didn't know was on the sidewalk and just flips off the police car as it's driving by, and the police car just slams on its brakes, hops out of the car, and just grabs the guy and starts hauling him to the car. And I'm standing there like, this is not okay. Like, you can't just grab somebody off the sidewalk for giving you the bird. Or
Right.
at least I didn't think you could. It just didn't feel right.
Right.
So I start yelling at the cops. I'm like, you can't treat him like that. You can't do this. You can't treat him like that. And midstream, I switched from, you can't treat him like that. You can't treat him like that. To you can't treat me like this. You can't treat me like this. And I just got thrown in there with him. And I'll be daggone, they took me to jail, and then they let me out the next day, and I'm trying to fight it. And the quote I'll never forget. Apparently, according to the letter of the law in Austin, Texas, for public intoxication, there's no burden of proof on the part of the officer for this charge.
Wow.
Whoa.
No burden of proof on the part of the. So I didn't get breathalyzed, none of that kind of stuff. It's all a judgment call. Public intoxication.
Wow.
That's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That just opens the door to abuse.
It really does. Yeah. I don't even know.
But a whole lot
How
of
that-
it is attitude of why you're doing what you're doing. And, you know, one of the things that you look at with a policeman is why are they doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And some
And
of
there's
them
all kinds of motivations.
Yeah, there's different things that motivate people. But, you know, the best policemen are trying to do what's right for everybody.
Right.
And they care about people.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of those end up in healthcare.
Right.
I mean, it's good that they end up there, but there's not as many. But law enforcement does have the ability to abuse it, and that's what attracts people to
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that psychological profile has been a big issue in our country for many years.
it. There's no
And
doubt.
Before we go too far down the rabbit hole of critiquing, because I do think the psychological profile of too many officers is people in there for the wrong reasons, because it's a chance to be an adrenaline junkie or to exert power over others, and people can get off on that trip of just liking to wield power over people and that. But huge Jabberjawn shout out to all the good men and women in the police that
Definitely.
keep our cities safe.
It's a
I mean,
noble
it's
cause.
a very noble calling. Right.
And, you
You
know,
could probably say the same thing for teachers.
oh, there's definitely bad teachers. There's definitely
Do you think
teachers.
there's teachers that are the same kind of psychological profile? They do it for the wrong reasons.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, from pedophilia on up. Just,
Right.
But you're going to find that in any profession that has the ability to exert power.
Right.
Medical profession. So yeah. But anytime you're in a position of that, I mean, it's so sad that like Boy Scouts, it's a perfect place for a pedophile to breed their problems, but that's not what it is.
Right.
It's those are the exceptions to the rule, and it just kind of ruins the whole image
Right.
that so many good-hearted people are trying to create. It's just sad. It only takes a few bad apples to make it seem ugly.
Blow it all away.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to the end of the show. Anybody, before we sign off, been watching the Olympics at all? We've been getting into it here at home.
I love it. I
Yep.
love it. I think it's so much more unifying as a country than anything else we could be watching on television these days.
Yep.
And it makes you feel good that, young people are still out there. Us old people tend to think young people are just a bunch of, playing their video games, not doing it. And you watch these people and you say, well, I think you can do some stuff. It's really inspiring.
It is inspiring.
If anybody's out there recruiting for a handball team, sign me up.
I'm intrigued by this because Lex was talking before we went live about seeing handball last night, and I just assumed I saw handball on the schedule, but I haven't watched any of it yet, and I assumed it was what you used to play at the YMCA
So did I.
when I was growing up, but apparently no, not at all.
It's a combination of soccer and basketball, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
So it's like a new invention.
I don't know. I haven't.
I think they've
haven't
been doing
learned
it
yet.
for a while. But it's like a cult. You have to have a password to get into the club, and it's a special place.
Okay,
The
so
handball club.
I'm
gonna
willing
have
to join your handball cult if anybody's
I
starting
have to
one.
deep dive.
let
I'll
me know.
join that cult. If I'm gonna be a little critical, I gotta say I feel like NBC is doing a really bad job at storytelling and keeping me knowing what's going on. I don't know, like how many events I've watched only to find out after it was all done that was just a qualifying thing. It wasn't for a medal, or there's not enough information on the screen about what we're seeing from moment to moment, and I'm like, did they just get into sports broadcasting yesterday? I don't quite understand why they're doing such a bad job holding my hand a little bit. And
Well, and the other thing is you got to subscribe to Peacock to watch a lot of it. And I think that's just wrong.
yeah, paywalls and bad storytelling.
Yeah.
It's
Bunch of jerks.
a bunch of jerks.
Well, haven't a bunch of reporters or announcers been like let go for comments they've made? I keep reading that online.
Oh, I don't know.
Like saying things they shouldn't be saying, and they're just letting them go.
You don't even have a TV, do you?
I do have a TV.
Oh, you
now.
do. Do you have cable or anything? So you can. Have you been watching any?
I've watched a little bit of it, yeah. I'm very impressed with Flavor Flav from Public Enemy is trying to save Red Lobster and the women's polo team. I find that impressive.
Red Lobster.
Yeah.
What is the Red Lobster?
Was the Red Lobster was going to go bankrupt or something, and so Flavor Flav keeps ordering every item on the menu, and he's trying to save Red Lobster.
Oh,
but
wow.
then he read a couple years ago that all the ladies on the polo team work jobs to support themselves so they could make the team, and he thought that was ridiculous that they had to work. So he totally supports the women's polo team.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun show, guys.
Oh, is it over?
Well, we're there.
Oh, it's not over.
Not over.
He's getting out the moonshine again. So.
Oh, golly, Ned.
Here we go.
Now, does moonshine have a romantic aura about it, or is that more?
Oh, yeah, after 3 shots, you're pretty damn romantic, I guarantee you. It don't even have to be a woman.
I mean,
Give me a couch.
I was thinking of a sheep myself.
so
Depends on where you're born.
so moonshine doesn't bring the image of writers and musicians and stuff to your mind?
It doesn't, does it? It does not.
It brings to mind somebody like with a pig on a roaster with a red Solo cup just scraping meat off the side of it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the beginning song, which was very sweet. Now we get the closing song. And if you're lucky, someday you'll get one of these.
Yeah.
Nathan Moore songs.
There's a guy called Ted who lives inside my head, and if you ever met him, then you may be dead. I don't much like him, but once he saved my life, and now he says I owe him, so I'm drinking tonight, I'm drinking tonight. Wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, was I. Ted buys the room around, I don't know where he gets the dough, but after each and every pint he says just one more. I say, hey, where are we going? How we gonna get home? He runs and leaps like a madman, screaming, leave me alone, just leave me alone. Wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, was I. I can go for days, for weeks, sometimes even months without seeing, hiding her hair of Ted, not even once. When I find my feet and breathe a relieved sigh, Ted from out of the blue comes crashing like the sky, comes crashing like the sky. And wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, was I. Everybody, wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, wasted was Ted, was I. Whoa. Yeah, we gotta take this on the road, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Love you guys.
Jawn
Do good.
signing off. Boy,
Have a shot of Jaeger.
y'all sound good on that.
Yeah, you did sound good.
It's like we rehearsed it or something.
New discovery. Probably have to have the fight behind every time I do it.
We're ready for the Olympics now.
What event?
The high pitched voice singing.
That was fun.